he was like, I want a divorce. And I was shocked. I was like, why? I thought you wanted to work through this, and he had just made up his mind.
And it wasn't just being done, it was telling her exactly the way I felt for the first time in all the years we had been together.
I remember being incredibly sad and crying all the time, and my mom would wake me up in the mornings to go walk so I wasn't sleeping all day. But something switched in me that made me feel like I don't want to let this go. Like I still want to be with this man.
I was exercising, I was doing music, I was doing design, whatever I had to do. Like, I couldn't have a silent moment in the day, because then I would start to feel bad. I would start to think about things. I would want to give in, because the natural thing that I felt like I had done throughout the relationship was to give in, just to do whatever would make her feel happy regardless of the way I felt.
I would call him all the time, and he was very cold, and he just sounded so done. I was just begging, and I was just a mess.
I was starting to talk to somebody else, honestly. And in talking to somebody else and hearing about somebody else's life and not seeing what I had been used to displayed there, it really did feel like a grass is greener on the other side moment. It felt like maybe, I could see a future where I could be involved in other things.
I would talk to God about what I had done and what I was guilty of, and how much I messed up the relationship, and how it makes sense for him to not want to be with me, but I really want to try to make this work for the better, for good.
It was a hard thing to do. And I remember the day that we went to the courthouse and I had to meet up with her, and that's the first time I had seen her in a while. And I had to keep a stone face, a stone exterior, just to go through, like, let's sign the paperwork, let's turn things in. I didn't want to hang out for a long time. I know she talked to me at the end. I gave her a hug, and then I was on my way.
I remember having a conversation with my mom. She was like, I really want you to feel like you have a place in this world, and you can do some good too. When she said that, it really stuck to me, and for the first time I didn't wake up crying.
I had rejected so many of her calls, and there was something that happened this one day that made me reconsider everything.
I started to find myself like, you know what, maybe I need to let this go. A lot of hurt has been dealt in this relationship for as long as I can remember, and maybe it really needs to be finished.
The person I was talking to, something had came up that showed me, wow, everybody has their thing. If it's not depression, it's something else. It just made me think back to everything that I had experienced with Leah. She knew me, I knew her, and we had been through all of this stuff, and I waited so long to be honest, that it just made me think, like, maybe I didn't make the right choice. Maybe we should try this thing again. Maybe if we could just be honest this time. Maybe if I just put things out there, we don't have to go through things the same way.
I was like, well, let me just call him one last time. I knew I was going to get the voicemail and let him know I wasn't going to call him anymore, and I understand now that this is it, and that's okay. So I called him, and he answered, and I was so shocked that I forgot what I was going to say.
I tore down the stone wall that was in front of me, and I'm just like, this is the way I feel, and I miss you. Let's get together. And so I think we met up that same night, and that was the beginning of a slow process to try to begin to repair the relationship again. We weren't doing the weekend over here, bouncing back and forth anymore. We just decided to both move in with my parents, and we stayed there and we worked.
The way we talked to each other had improved for the first time in a very long time. But me, myself, I was still trying to find the right treatment.
There was an independent insurance that we had at that point, and it just didn't cover a lot of the stuff. So for her to get the right kind of medication, it was based upon whatever our insurance would pay for. So it became this medication dance, and all of them had a different effect on her. So sometimes she'd be asleep the whole day, and then there's one that would have her up super early in the morning and like really excited. But then if something went wrong, she would fall all the way back down.
I just literally went from one med to the other trying to get it right.
I wasn't expecting another dip this low, and this was the lowest dip of all.
I was too tired to try finding the right meds anymore, and I just felt like I wasn't going to get any better. Nothing was working, and I was so bent on trying to end my life. And I remember I got out by force of the room, and I tried to go for the knives, and my mom called 911 to Baker Act me, and LaGuardia was there the whole time.
For me to look in the eyes of my wife and not recognize her, for me to have to like physically restrain her, to hold her down so she wouldn't harm herself, for me to have to see police come and take her away. You don't ever want to see that happen to somebody that you love. You don't ever want to see somebody completely lose control, but our insurance was the most basic insurance there was, so we couldn't afford the right medications, the right doctors, whatever. It's just we couldn't afford the right things, and I felt like this was a culmination of all of those things that led her to this breaking point.
And the cops came, and I was not looking at them, and I don't know what their names were. I don't know how they looked, but they really tried to reason with me, and then I just fought for trying to get those knives, and they wrestled me down and handcuffed me, and I was just crying, and I was saying a bunch of stuff I don't even remember. They put me in the car and they took me to the hospital, and I was just screaming, and I had to be tranquilized and cuffed down to the bed, and I just was so done with life. I was so done with life because I felt like, once again, not only had I fallen down a dark hole, I was bringing people with me, and having that on my conscience was just unbearable. So I was transferred to a destabilization unit. I was there for 3 days, and I had gotten on some meds that just calmed me down, and I was in my right head space again, and I was able to apologize to my mom and my husband. And I remember my mom just kind of feeling like, wow, like if you really wanted to go through this, there's nothing I could do. And I guess I have to come to terms with, if that feeling, that urge ever gets strong enough again, there really is a possibility you won't be here. And I just could hear the disappointment in her voice, and I felt that she kind of almost gave up too. She was really tired too, because she had fought for me for a very long time.
I spent time with the mom. We rode out there to go visit her, and we were there to welcome her back once she got out. And it really wasn't until I got a full-time job and had really good benefits that I was able to be in a situation where she could finally get the medication that we kind of knew. It was like during her whole time in treatment, there was one medication that worked. It worked better than anything else, but it was so expensive without insurance covering it. But I finally was in a spot where we could get that, and we just slowly started to build. So counseling was a part of it, the medication was a part of it, family, faith, all of those things tied together is what made things slowly get better.
I was in a better space, and I was more energetic. Being happy once again, being balanced wasn't such a struggle. I was doing more than just functioning.
I wasn't walking on eggshells anymore. I wasn't afraid that me being honest about the way I was feeling and what was in my mind would cause the relationship to end.
The past 3 years of our marriage have been the best years of our marriage ever. we were just in a good place to where we understood each other.
I felt like this is my wife. She suffers from depression, but this is something we can get through together because she wants to be here with me. I didn't force her to be here. She's not doing this because she felt guilty. It's like she's here, she wants to be here, and it's still a work in progress, but marriage felt good at that point. Our lives for the past 3 years has been something that we didn't expect since the beginning, because things started off in such a crazy way that we never thought that we would make it at this point. So you all have traveled with us through all the ups and downs. We've poured our hearts out. You've seen the reality of our lives, and we are so grateful that you took the time to do that.
Thank you so much for just being open to hearing our story. It felt so vulnerable and it was uncomfortable, and I was doubting if it could even help anyone, and I'm just so shocked. It seems to have been helping a lot of people, and I'm so grateful.
What we want you to do is any questions that you have for either of us, leave those in the comment section and we'll answer as many as we can next week. And we're also going to be showing pictures and video clips from the actual redo ceremony that we had.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, y'all.